Hello, everybody. Pastor Jeff here with the Word on Wednesday. I've been using these midweek reflections as an opportunity to explore some of the lectionary texts that we aren't hearing on Sunday mornings because of our abbreviated services, and that's the case this week. I'm looking at 1 Corinthians chapter 12, one of the readings for Pentecost Sunday, which we just celebrated this last Sunday. This is from 1 Corinthians chapter 12, beginning at the 3rd verse. St. Paul writes, "No one can say Jesus is Lord except by the Holy Spirit. Now there are varieties of gifts, but the same Spirit. There are varieties of services, but the same Lord. And there are varieties of activities, but it is the same God who activates all of them in everyone. To each is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good." The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. This is part of Paul's great discourse on the work of the Spirit in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, and here he's talking about these varieties of gifts that are given to the people of God, varieties of services, varieties of activities, but of course he says it's the same Spirit that activates them all. It's the same Lord that is served in and through all of them. Each is given a manifestation of the Spirit, he says, for the common good. I've been thinking about this text and thinking about Kelly and Dave, who have been working to get our sign upright again after it has been knocked over somehow, one way or another. They've been using their gifts to try to get that thing back upright again, and I appreciate that. I think about Rochelle and Rakan, who were together in the office yesterday crunching the numbers in our church finances, getting those all straightened out. They're looking good, but it takes a lot of work to get all of that done. I think about Tom and Sheila, who've been so attentive to watering our plants indoors and out. Even though there aren't a lot of people on our property these days, they're keeping things looking nice for when we are together again on our church property. It's the same Spirit and the same Lord at work in and through all of these friends and many, many more, and the Spirit is manifesting itself for the sake of all of us. They are all using their gifts for the sake of the common good. Paul is talking specifically about the church here in his conversation about these gifts and this conversation about the common good, but I think the church can serve, and these words of Paul can serve as kind of a microcosm for the whole world. To think about how God works through everybody's vocations and callings to tend to the common good. This past week has been kind of a series of virtual signing days for the high school. So they're doing this virtually, of course, now. And so the seniors at Oak Harbor High School are declaring where they're headed next for college or for employment or for military service or whatever their next plans are. They've been posting all of this for each student online. So it's kind of a week-long virtual signing day or days. And my son is a senior, so he's been among them. And my wife and I have known a lot of these kids since they were in elementary school. We've watched them grow up alongside our own son. We have been to their recitals and their programs and their concerts. And my wife has served as a den mother back in the Cub Scout days, and she knows a lot of those boys from the time she was a den mother. And it's been so fun to see these virtual signing day pictures released with the information about what they're going to do next, how God is calling their gifts out of them to serve the common good. There's a batch of nurses and people who are going to be studying biotechnology and environmental science, people who will be pursuing business degrees and engineering degrees and military service and entering the trades. Some people are undecided, of course, and we know that many of them will change their minds later on, and that's all fine. But it is just a delight and a joy to see how God is calling these gifts out of these young people, not only to serve themselves, but to serve the common good, so that we all benefit, and we all will, surely, from this batch of kids. These, of course, have been painful days in our country. I mean, just one thing after another. There's the pandemic and economic collapse, and we've seen a sad renewal of racial tensions in our country, and we've seen a lot of social unrest. It's all been very, very painful. But we've been reminded in and through all of it of how interconnected we all really are as human beings, as people, as citizens of this country. We've been reminded how much we need each other, how much we depend on each other. And so my prayer for today, in light of this text, my prayer for the church and for the world, is that we all would use all of our gifts, all of our activities, all of our services for the sake of the common good, that there might be justice and healing, that there might be peace and prosperity for all. Thanks be to God. Amen.